So I had a customer reach out to me on my Instagram. I do quite a bit of communicating with people on there, and it's Downing.fabrication on Instagram. So anyway, he's getting ready to do a link setup on a Samurai and asked if I made towers. And I hadn't really made coilover towers for Samurais before, so I went ahead and designed some. These are pretty universal. They're for a 2-inch diameter shock, which is about as tight with Samurai axles. The amount of space you have between the frame rail and the tire is pretty tight. 2-inch diameter shocks fit in there pretty comfortably with the spring on the outside. A 2.5 probably would fit, but you would definitely get some rubbing. And depending on your track bar setup, and how much droop you have, on mine, my coils on one side basically just touch the frame at full droop because the axle gets pulled off to the side a little bit with the track bar. So anyway, I advised the guy of all this stuff and told him basically 2-inch shocks are the best idea. If you have wider axles, then you've got more room to work with, and this becomes less of an issue. So these are basically the towers I came up with. Pretty simple. There's a back and 2 sides and then 2 tabs. And, I don't draw these as like full models or anything. I just do what I need to cut the parts. But I have these are based off of ones I do for like YJ springs. And so when you look through the fender well, this is the orientation of the shock eye. And I do it that way. So if you have reservoirs, the hose will come out this direction parallel with the frame instead of out towards the tire or in towards the engine. And the uniball's got plenty of deflection usually in this case. This doesn't move a whole lot. So if this is turned 90 degrees, then you can see like this is kind of my mock-up of where a reservoir hose is. And so it's based off of that design. This will be the same. So this gets bent across here, and then this top with the oval hole becomes the top of the tower. And then there's a slight bend here. And basically these 2 sides weld on, and then the 2 tabs weld into the top, and they nest in there. They got pretty good contact. This will get welded on all 3 of these sides. So the plenty strong for a Samurai. I'm doing 10 gauge material for the back, and then 3/16 for the 2 sides and the 2 tabs. There's really no point in making this back super thick because it doesn't really bear much of the weight. It's really there for stability for these 2 sides. So I've got this design. Like I said, they're pretty universal. This guy's most likely going to have to trim some off of the bottom. I made them extra tall, so if you've got longer shocks or whatever the situation may be. But in this one's case, he's going to be sitting at like 3 to 4 inches of lift, and then like a 10-inch travel shock. So he's most likely going to have to trim a couple inches off the bottom. But it's cool to make it universal and give people options. And then like when I mount these, I always tell people I suggest leaning the top of the tower back, kind of matching your caster angle. And that helps your tire to kind of swivel around the shock when you steer and keep kind of equal clearance around it. And it just helps prevent you from rubbing a tire on your spring. So this is the basic design. And now I'm getting these parts all nested in my Torchmate software so I can cut the pieces out on my table. And so what I do is I go out and I keep a lot of times I have my material cut in 2 foot by 4 foot pieces because that's the size of my cut area on my table. And I basically hang on to those 2 foot by 4 foot pieces until there's really nothing left. And so when I'm getting ready to make parts, I will kind of dig through my pile of sheets and figure out where I can fit parts on the existing sheets. The smart thing to do is to kind of keep your sheets and actually number them and save them as like a part number in your files. And then you can just bring them up, and then it's a lot easier to fit them that way, but I haven't been that organized, unfortunately. So I've got 2 different cut files. This is the 10 gauge file, and then the 3/16 file. You know, I worked pretty hard to, you know, this is about 1/8 of an inch. I nest them in pretty tight. You know, steel's not getting any cheaper, so might as well take full advantage. And like you can see, I really try to squeeze stuff in there as best I can. So now I got these saved on a disk or a thumb drive, and transfer them out to my computer out in the shop and get these cut out. I'm not gonna show that because it's pretty boring, but you know, I've shown in different videos cutting parts out on the table. So I'll get these cut out and cleaned, and then I'll bring you back then and show you what I'm gonna do to put them together. Okay, so here's the parts cut out and cleaned and bent. And then you see here's one that I got just tack welded together. I ended up going 3/16 on the back. Just felt it'd be better. Don't think it really needs it, but anyway. And then there's 2 of these tabs that nest into here. One will be out here with nice corner welds on the outside, and then 1.5" ID. And then the back side's got that hole for socket clearance. Get to the nut. So I got to get these tacked in next, and then weld it up, and they'll basically be done. These will be super universal. They could work for just about anything. But like I said, these are made for a 2.5 inch coilover. I'm going to design up another one that is for a 2.5 inch as well. It'll just be a little wider and a little more space inside. So I'm going to get these shock tabs tacked in, and then I'll show you what it looks like, and then I'll get these fully welded up and shipped out to the customer. Okay, so what I'm doing now is getting ready to set up the shock tabs. They'll be up in this top area here. And so coilover shocks, generally speaking, have a 1.5" wide width that they need. You got the little uniball inside, and there's 2 spacers, and some shocks are 1.25", but the vast majority are 1.5". And so what I've got here is a piece that I made a while back on a lathe that's exactly 1.5". And then, so then here's one of the tabs. So what I do is I put this guy in here, and then this is a shock valving shim, and this is 20 thousandths. And so then I put that guy in there too. And then when I sandwich this all together and weld it, whatever shrinkage and distortion happens, that 20 thousandths is usually enough to where that shock still will slide in and out easy. And then I put these on a good flat surface when I tighten this bolt, so that way that everything is true and straight. And so this guy is going to fit up in here like this. And like I said before, this kind of rounded notch right here is clearance for the reservoir hose to come by. So I'm going to get this tightened up and then tack welded in place. And first I'm going to do some welding stuff that's hard to get to once these tabs are in place. But I'm going to get this all set up, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's fully together. Okay, here they're all tacked up. You can see how those tabs fit in place. And there's access hole in the back to get a socket in there for the nut. And so basically when these sit on the car, I'm probably going to make some gussets to go down to the top of the frame. And then wherever this lands on the frame, the bottom can be cut off. Like I said before, I made them a little extra tall, just so they're a little more universal. That's pretty much it. I'm gonna get these welded up and then mailed off to the customer. So if this looks like something you might want, hit me up in the comments. All right, thanks for watching.